here in order to solve this this pack of puzzles, you are made aware of a broader aspect of this new piece of knowledge, which is these guys, these white gumdrops, shrink from fear and expand from love. And the new piece of knowledge is, I will show.
I love you.
Well, the point is I'm supposed to be able to get on top of that guy. But I'm having some trouble. Shoot. So that's the thing. I was supposed to demonstrate you in a really cool way that the new piece of knowledge is when hate or love is on top of one of these white guys, and then you expand it again. So I guess when hate is on one of them and love expands him, then he shoots him up. But right now I'm having a hard time doing this because I can't target him with hate on top of him. Failure. Can't. Failure. Awesome. I like failing. From this failure, I have learned, not that this isn't the new move, the way in which I'm executing it might be incorrect, but also possibly that this way of looking at this new piece of knowledge is incorrect, and I have to explore differently. So now I put on my exploration cap and
I love you.
Try to figure this out. So I take the amount of knowledge that I have, which is regarding these guys, which is hate shrinks them, love expands them, and they cannot move. And then I try to solve a problem with it. Maybe I have to be walking when it happens. Maybe it is a timing. It's an action puzzle now.
I love you.
Oh, it did. I did it and it didn't work. That's almost a guarantee that this is not correct. Because I did it. He was on him. There's no way I could have did better timing than that.
I love you.
He's like, don't love me, you son of a bitch. Ooh, interesting. I'm in a failure now. I'm in a state of failure. This is the first time I've been in a state of failure so far. And I need to learn how to get one of these white guys to expand so that he lifts me up so that I can move across and hit on that switch. But even then, I would have to, if I'm going to get hate to jump up here on these blocks that are being suspended by these chains. Once he reaches over to the switch, he's not going to be able to, there's this gap here that he'll fall down onto. Even if this white guy is expanded up, he'll fall down one space. And he cannot jump onto the switch from that. Love would have to be there, occupying that space so that hate would walk on top of love and then onto the switch. So that changes things. But this is all me assessing the situation, but the one guaranteed thing that I'm going to learn from this is I'm going to learn a new form of looking at this information of these white guys, these white gumdrops.
I love you.
This is so interesting. Still, the only thing that makes sense is while hate is walking over one of these things, love expands it up. That's the only thing that makes logical sense here. So I'm going to keep trying that. It might just be a timing thing. And since I failed once or twice in getting the timing right, the execution right, I'm almost assuming that's not correct, but that's too dangerous of an assumption right now. Okay, I'm going to practice. I'm going to have hate come and walk on this one right here, and I'm going to wait. Now!
I love you.
Damn it. Now!
I love you.
It's not working. Wait! I jumped on top. Oh! 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 Okay. 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 Okay.
I love you.
I'm getting here. Since these guys are immovable, I think that the answer is just here. I got to get hate and love on these two things, because then one of them could just hop on the other one's back. Now how is it? Ah, got it.
I love you. I love you.
Ah, okay. Failure occurred, but nothing new was learned, and no new aspect of a known ability was learned, or a piece of knowledge was learned. Failure occurred because I simply was not looking at the space correctly. And I wasn't looking at the space correctly because I was exploring and convincing myself that there was something about these white gumdrops that I was not understanding correctly. I was convinced that there was something new to be learned there, but there wasn't anything new to be learned there in those two respects. It was simply I need to focus on those two closest to love. So I guess that is a new piece of knowledge, but that's a new piece of knowledge relevant to that level alone and not to the entire game in general. So I have to categorize that knowledge somehow. Knowledge that is relevant to a particular situation, and only that particular situation. That also caused me to fail. But then I think is I can't take that knowledge and run with it. I can't take that and use that knowledge for the rest of the game. It was too specific. So the best way to categorize that is knowledge specific to a particular circumstance. But it needs to be understood that that particular circumstance may never happen again.
I love you. 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 I love you.
Right there. In this level, I almost failed once again by not understanding knowledge specific to this particular circumstance. As I was initially analyzing how to solve this puzzle, I was trying to figure out how to get this blue elevator gumdrop to the left side of this block with the red switch on top, so where the chain is located right now. There, and so I could have just attempted to solve it that way, and then I would have inevitably failed, and the cause of that failure would have been lacking knowledge specific to this particular circumstance. So even though I have understood everything here, I would have failed due to not understanding the knowledge specific to this circumstance being the gumdrop needs to be on the right side of the switch, not on the left side. I'm wondering if there's a pattern with puzzle games there. I'm wondering if there's like a certain portion of the game where all the information regarding new information and different ways of understanding and interpreting these information that is relevant to the entire game is introduced to you in the beginning, and then it's just about understanding information relevant to just each particular level or singular situation. Is there somehow a link between that setup and life? Or is life always hitting you with new information? It is possible that from this point on, there will be no new information and no new ways of looking at old information. But I'm glad I made that distinction, because that is very important knowledge to have in my effort to develop a curriculum around this concept. Very interesting here. As I assess the situation and develop the list of moves in my mind, there's a point here where I already see a point of failure. There's two green, they're called lazy ones, there's two green gumdrops. That's what I call them though, gumdrops. Here on the left, bottom left, if I were to attract the gumdrop with love towards the right, I would be able to hop up, but then when I attract the top gumdrop to drop down, I wouldn't be able to get onto him. So the only way to pass this section right here is to repel him with hate so that he moves to the left and not to the right. That way, when I retract the gumdrop on top and he falls down, we will be able to still hop on top as I will demonstrate now.
I love you.
See here, the only way to do this is to repel him. Get hate over here first. I got to ensure that hate. See, there's another failure too. If I had attracted this gumdrop down here too soon, hate would have been stuck in here.
I love you.
So again, so many instances when I could fail.
I hate you. I hate you.
I love you.
And these moments when I could have failed but didn't, they would have acted as failures that led to new knowledge that was particular to this level only. So there's a new type of knowledge that I'm slowly understanding. There's knowledge that expands the entire game, and there's knowledge that is unique to each individual level. I am able to save myself the failure by looking ahead, planning out my moves before I'm there making decisions that will eventually cause me to fail. I'm wondering, is there this whole planning things, making decisions before you act? Right now, it seems the only aid in avoiding failure that would eventually end up teaching you knowledge particular to each unique stage. But it seems it's impossible for this planning to help you avoid failure that would teach you new knowledge or a new way of looking at old knowledge. That failure that leads to that type of information seems to be unavoidable. That's the whole point. Since you don't know, how could you not fail? Failure in that context seems necessary so that you learn the new knowledge or the new way of looking at old knowledge. Interesting. In life, are we afraid? Do we only perceive one type of failure? Do we only perceive the type of failure that we can avoid if we plan ahead? And then do we only address the unavoidable type of failure in scholarly articles and self-help books, etc.? Are humans afraid of the avoidable type of failure but are okay with the unavoidable type? And it would make sense because you would be okay with the unavoidable type because in hindsight you think, oh my god, I learned so much from that. But then you would be afraid of the avoidable type because then in hindsight you're like, if only I didn't do this. In other words, if only I had thought better, then I would have made better decisions. There seems to be a gray area in how we treat both types of failure. But when you look at it from this point of view, as I just illustrated in this level, one can be avoided, the other one can't. It's clear, they're clearly distinct. Yet we use the word failure for both of them. But the results and the way of dealing with it are completely different. It's like they're two different organisms, but for some reason, so we don't understand them, we just lump them up in one category. My brain's sparked. And my brain is on fire, like if you took every torch in this room and combined it. This level's looking really difficult. It's a conundrum, but I know for a fact the only type of knowledge I can learn here from failure is unique to this particular environment. And I think I just ran into something there. That could be the defining difference between failure in life and failure in games. Why are gamers so satisfied and okay with failing in games? It's because every type of failure that you experience in a game is that type of failure that it's the avoidable type that you can avoid with good planning, with good strategy. And that feels good to do. It feels good to avoid something that you know you can. And games are designed to reward the player who strategizes properly. And so even in the case that you do fail, in games there is hardly ever failure that is unavoidable. Failure that teaches you new rules and whatnot, because those rules, the things you must know to function in a game, are always taught to you explicitly. That is the sign of a good game design, is that the rules of the mechanics of the game, the things that exist throughout the entire game, the core aspects of the game that you'll see from level 1 to level 200 billion or ended the game, the more artistic or the more interesting way a game designer can think of and explain those rules, the more successful this game is. But the avoidable failure, that's just from experience. Life doesn't do that. Life doesn't differentiate between those two types of failure, those two types of knowledge. Failure in life is much scarier because you don't know which one it is. You don't know the impact it's going to have on you. See, I'm very excited right now because I know that the failure that exists in this particular level is most likely the failure that I can avoid as long as I plan it correctly. And it's exciting for me to figure out how to do that.